and Billy traveled in time to the zoo on Tralfamadore. He was 44 years old, on display under a geodesic dome. He was reclining on the lounge chair, which had been his cradle during his trip through space. He was naked. The Tralfamadorians were interested in his body. All of it. There were thousands of them outside, holding up their little hands so their eyes could see him. Billy had been on Tralfamadore for 6 Earthling months now. He was used to the crowd. Escape was out of the question. The atmosphere outside the dome was cyanide, and Earth was 100. Actually, this number is too big. Is this trillions or more than trillions? I think it's 1 trillion. Escape was out of the question. The atmosphere outside of the dome was cyanide, and Earth was 446,120,000,000,000 miles away. Billy was displayed there in a zoo, in a simulated Earthling habitat. Most of the furnishings had been stolen from the Sears and Roebuck warehouse in Iowa City, Iowa. There was a color television set and a couch that could be converted into a bed. There were end tables with lamps and ashtrays on them by the couch. There was a home bar and 2 stools. There was a little pool table. There was wall-to-wall carpeting in federal gold, except in the kitchen and bathroom areas, and over the iron manhole cover in the center of the floor. There were magazines arranged in a fan on the coffee table in front of the couch. There was a stereophonic phonograph. The phonograph worked. The television didn't. There was a picture of one cowboy killing another pasted to the television tube. So it goes. There were no walls in the dome, no place for Billy to hide. The mint green bathroom fixtures were right out in the open. Billy got off of his lawn chair now, his lounge chair, went into the bathroom and took a leak. The crowd went wild. Okay, I didn't plan that, honestly. I just happened to have to pee right when Billy did. And you know what? It's beautiful. And the crowd went wild. And there was much rejoicing. Billy brushed his teeth on Tralfamadore, put in his partial denture, and went into his kitchen. His bottled gas range, and his refrigerator, and his dishwasher were mint green too. There was a picture painted on the door of the refrigerator. The refrigerator had come that way. It was a picture of a gay 90s couple. A gay 90s couple on a bicycle built for two. Billy looked at that picture now. Tried to think something about the couple. Nothing came to him. There didn't seem to be anything to think about those two people. He brushed his teeth. He looked at the picture of the gay 90s couple. There didn't seem to be anything to think about that picture. About those two people. Billy ate a good breakfast from cans. He washed his cup and plate and knife and fork and spoon and saucepan. Put them away. Then he did exercises he learned in the army. Straddle jumps, deep knee bends, sit-ups and push-ups. Most Tralfamadorians had no way of knowing Billy's body and face were not beautiful. They supposed that he was a splendid specimen. This had a pleasant effect on Billy, who began to enjoy his body for the first time. He showered after his exercises and trimmed his toenails. He shaved and sprayed deodorant under his arms, while a zoo guide on a raised platform outside explained what Billy was doing and why. The guide was lecturing telepathically, simply standing there, sending out thought waves to the crowd. On the platform with him was a little keyboard instrument with which he would relay questions to Billy from the crowd. Now the first question came from the speaker on the television set. "Are you happy here?" "About as happy as I was on Earth," said Billy Pilgrim. Which was true. There were 5 sexes on Tralfamador, each of them performing a step necessary in the creation of a new individual. They looked identical to Billy because their sex differences were all in the 4th dimension. One of the biggest moral bombshells handed to Billy by the Tralfamadorians, incidentally, had to do with sex on Earth. They said that their flying saucer crews had identified no fewer than 7 sexes on Earth, each essential to reproduction. Again, Billy couldn't possibly imagine what 5 of those 7 sexes had to do with the making of a baby, since they were sexually active only in the 4th dimension. The Tralfamadorians tried to give Billy clues that would help him imagine sex in the invisible dimension. They told him that there could be no earthling babies without male homosexuals. There could be babies without female homosexuals. There couldn't be babies without women over 65 years old. There could be babies without men over 65. There couldn't be babies without other babies who had lived an hour or less after birth. And so on. It was gibberish to Billy. There was a lot that Billy said that was gibberish to Tralfamadorians, too. They couldn't imagine what time looked like to him. Billy had given up on explaining that. The guide outside had to explain as best he could. The guide invited the crowd to imagine that they were looking across a desert at a mountain range on a day that was twinkling and bright and clear. They could look at a peak, or a bird, or a cloud, or a stone right in front of them, or even down into the canyon beyond them, behind them. But among them was this poor earthling, and his head was encased in a steel sphere, which he could never take off. There was only one eye hole through which he could look, and welded to that eye hole was 6 feet of pipe. This was only the beginning of Billy's miseries in the metaphor. He was also strapped to a steel lattice, which was bolted to a flat car on rails. And there was no way he could turn his head or touch the pipe. The far end of the pipe rested on a bipod, which was bolted to the flat car. And all Billy could see was the little dot at the end of the pipe. He didn't know he was on a flat car. Didn't even know that there was anything peculiar about his situation. The flat car sometimes crept, sometimes went extremely fast, often stopped, went uphill, downhill, around curves, along straightaways. Whatever poor Billy saw through the pipe, he had no choice but to say to himself, "That's life." All right. I think I'm going to stop there. And then I think I can finish chapter 5 next week. We'll stop on page 95.